This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Hello and welcome back to the Research Talks podcast from Stockbox with Alan Green. Now, Alan, it's a beautiful, glorious day over here in the Netherlands. What is it like with you?
It's vaguely sunny, Mark, but it is overcast. But we've got high overcast cloud today.
Okay.
No rain forecast ahead of the bank holiday weekend, but the weather forecast for the weekend is very good indeed. So I will be out on the patio with my barbecue and a can of beer, and probably, in good Englishman fashion or good English fashion, I shall be out there with my t-shirt off and probably burning in the sun. But what the hell?
Oh, that's very Englishman fashion. Yes,
Yeah.
I can just picture that. Yes, thank you for that image.
In fact, maybe I should complete the picture and put a knotted handkerchief on my head as well. But
No. You've gone far enough with the.
Already gone far enough. Yeah. Okay.
Already gone far enough. Yeah. Well, hopefully it is a glorious weekend. I am moving apartments, so I might miss the most of it being outside. But I do have a few days to move, so hopefully I can get out and enjoy some of that as well, because it is looking like it's setting up to be, finally a nice May weekend.
Yeah, and warm air too, which is a real bonus.
Exactly.
I think it's been fairly Arctic so far this year.
It's been pretty Arctic, hasn't it? Yeah, it's been pretty rubbish so far. But yeah, there we go. So today we're going to catch up on Power Metal Resources, who they've released their half-year results, and they've always got lots going on at Power Metal Resources, and Coinsilium, who have recently done a placing, haven't they, and are setting up to do some new things. So which one would you like to take first, Alan?
Well, let's start with Power Metal, shall we?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So Power Metal Resources, of course, the company that's run by Paul Johnson, and how the company has enjoyed an incredible year. Really, it's a year of relentless hard work on the part of Paul and the team, literally every corner of the globe. The shares are currently trading at 2.35p. We've seen them hit a high of 3.5, and of course they've come all the way up from 0.3p in the midst of the COVID crisis last year. So many things have happened, and I think, as we've spoken previously about Power Metal on the podcast, different projects have dropped in here and there. But with the publishing of the interim results this week, it was a good time to draw a line in the sand and just look how far the company have come, and really the valuations that are supporting, and I say the valuation supports what the company's achieved. I don't think it in any way reflects that at all. I think there's so much more on the table. So the company has a range of projects over the world. I'm going to start off. I'm literally going to read them from the project summary sheet from the website. So in Australia, of course, we've got the key joint venture with Red Rock Resources, which is the 49.9% owned Red Rock Australasia project, and that entails a number of projects in the Victoria Goldfields, and of course the licenses in the Victoria Goldfields now total some 850 square kilometres for the jointly owned ventures. Goldfields, of course, have made headlines this year and last year through the incredible work that a lot of the local companies have done there. A number of London-listed companies, of course, including Power Metal, Red Rock, their joint venture, of course, ECR Minerals, and also in Australia for Power Metal, we have the recently announced opportunity to buy into the Paterson province, which is in Western Australia, close to a number of key producing mines, and the Power Metal will be owning up to 75% of the operation through a separate listed company. That I'll talk about the spin-offs from these different projects after I've covered all the projects. So two in Australia. We then moved to Botswana, where we had the 50% owned Malopo Farms complex, which is a nickel, copper, platinum group metals project opportunity. I should just say, of course, Victoria Goldfields, back to Australia, gold is of course predominantly a gold project. Patterson Province is both copper and gold, and of course the price of copper has exploded this year on the back of the drive into EVs and batteries. Back to Botswana, we then have the Kalahari Copper Belt asset, which is a 50-50 joint venture, as is the Ditau Camp rare earth project, 50-50 joint venture with Kavango Resources. And of course, you've spoken to Ben Turney and the team there, this joint venture is being spun out into a separate vehicle, which I'll discuss again at the end. We then fly across the Atlantic to the USA, where there's an option to earn up to 75% in the Alamo Gold Project. Literally nuggets being found on top of the ground in that province, which is very exciting. Up then to Canada, where we have the Silver Peak Project, which is a 30% owned venture with a privately owned company. Silver Peak Project, of course, owns part of the Eureka Silver Mine, which is in British Columbia. And historically has produced silver. And Paul and the team, when they did soil sampling there and looked at the data, it was referred to as bonanza silver grades. So that's really exciting too. Early this year, the company announced it was moving into another project in Canada, and it's taken 100% ownership of a number of projects in the Schreiber Hemlo Gold Belt. And listeners will know, of course, I did a research piece on that region a few months ago, and this is a highly productive region. Of course, you've got the Barrick Hemlo Gold Mine in the region, and a number of other famous gold and base metal producing sites, and again these are being developed going forward. A couple more to mention. Going back to Africa, in the DRC, the 70% owned Kasinga copper and cobalt project is progressing, and of course in Tanzania we then got the joint venture 35% in favor of Power Metal, 65% Katoro Gold, the Haneti nickel copper gold and lithium projects. So a huge number of projects there, and to bring us up to date on these. The Red Rock Australasia joint venture, of course, is going to be spun off into a separately listed vehicle at some point. In addition to that, the Western Australia Patterson Province development is going to be spun off into a separate vehicle also. So these are separate companies. And I think when you get a company like this that has a multitude of projects with value, sometimes investors can look at it and in a sense you can't see the wood for the trees because there is so much going on. By spinning these out separately, the focus will be on each individual project. So if an investor wants exposure to say just the goldfields, they might choose to invest into the First Development Resources asset in Patterson Province or into Red Rock Australasia. And of course on the separately listed on the stock market, those will realize more value than they would do under the umbrella of a bigger company. And what that does, it actually brings a great deal of value and boosts the value of the assets on the Power Metal balance sheet. So the net effect of that is it's going to drive the value of Power Metal Resources markedly higher. It's going to add real value, and of course, going forward, Power Metal will have these valuable shareholdings in these businesses that it's created. The same, of course, applies to the assets in Botswana. Mm-hmm. With the Malopo Farms project, that's a go loan at present. But the other assets there, the Ditau Farms project and the Kalahari Copper Belt exploration that's taking place, is a joint venture with Kavango Resources, and that again will be spun off into a separate vehicle listed on the London market. Kanye Resources is the name of that company. It's already set up, and the wheels are turning to get that one to market. So there's an awful lot going on behind the scenes, and I know this from speaking to Paul in his office. I mean, the man works literally 25 hours a day, 8 days a week. So it's just a relentless juggernaut of a mining operation. In the DRC, in the Kasinga project, ground geophysics took place in December to identify targets for drilling. We've yet to hear more on that. And of course, in Tanzania with the Haneti nickel project, joint venture with Katoro Gold, there's the initial drilling program has taken place, and we are expecting to hear about the actual dates for the diamond drill program targeting nickel and PGM group metals. So the progress is relentless, as I say. Also, in the going to Canada, we have the Silver Peak project that will be spun out into a separate vehicle, possibly listed on the TSX exchange, to be confirmed. And all of this is going on behind the scenes, and we've had a relatively quiet time. It's been a closed period, of course, for the company as it's prepared its half-year results. But I fully expect the pace of the pace of progress and the news flow to pick up again very sharply as we go into the summer months. During the half year, the company reported a loss for the period of 0.59 million. That's basically 590,000. The same period, warrant exercises raised 2.6 million for the company, leaving it at the end of that period, 31st of March, with net assets of 4.6 million. So the cash resources and the assets in the company are very carefully controlled by Paul Johnson, who is of course an accountant by trade. So it's structured very professionally, and the assets are husbanded extremely carefully in order to be able to run and to develop the projects at the pace they need developing at. So that's the line in the sand for Power Metal. A very strong half year, and I know the company has a very strong cash position going forward. And the shares have drifted back a bit, but I think actually in line with mining stocks. We've just seen a fairly flat performance, trading between 2.1p and 2.4p or 2.5p from March through to the end of May. So it's been a quiet second quarter, but as soon as we hear more news flow, I fully expect these to pick up and power on, because at 26 million for that number of projects, the company, I think, is laughably undervalued.
Yes, and you're right about sort of pulling back, but in line with the rest of the sort of mining stocks. It has sort of pulled back a little bit. I think maybe the old selling may think, well, maybe it has come along. But the positive thing about POW is if you buy now, you're buying at what the CEO's bought at very recently and quite a few number of times as well. And I'm sure he'll probably do it again when he's allowed. And to be able to buy a stock at the same price or very similar to what management are buying at, I think is always a very good signal to to be jumping in. And yeah, I don't think that Paul Johnson and Power will be slowing up on the news front as a lot of companies do throughout the summer months. I'm sure they'll be ploughing on as ever.
You're absolutely right, Mark, and that was the point I was going to make. Paul himself owns 12% of the company, so that's well and truly having skin in the game. And I think a lot of CEOs could learn from the way Paul's run the business and the fact that he puts his money where his mouth is. He's constantly picking up shares. He's been buying at these levels and higher as well. Mm-hmm. And of course, he, like all of us shareholders, I am a shareholder. I will declare my interest in Power Metal. He's very much feeling the pain as well as the gain with the vagaries of the market, as we often see at this time of year. But as far as I'm concerned, I have been topping up as it's moved down towards 2p, and I will continue to do so. I think, with the number of spin-offs and separate listings due to due to take place later this year. Those are value. Those are points in time which will crystallize value for that particular project and will reinforce substantially the Power Metal balance sheet. And that in itself, I mean, let's look at this: 26 million. Any one of these projects coming to fruition could dwarf that market capitalization, and that's the exciting thing. Look what happened to Greatland Gold with the Havieron project. It's a decent sized resource that was discovered there, but at 35%, at one stage they were valued at over $1 billion. So Power Metal has got a raft of projects that could easily produce something of a similar scale, and that's where the real opportunity lies for this company. I think so many mining companies do have, say, one or two projects. Power Metal have got 9. They've got a raft of different projects. All around the world, any one of which could come to fruition or take a quantum leap forward at any stage, and that's where we're poised at right now. The news flow, I think, is going to really pick up in the next few months.
Cool, great, thank you very much, Alan. Very, very good. So let's move on to Coinsilium.
Coinsilium, indeed. So going to start at the beginning with this. This has been a fascinating journey for the company. I've known Malcolm Palley, the executive chairman there, for a number of years. So Coinsilium are an Aquis-listed company, AQX, of course, and they're dual listed, of course, in the US on the OTC venture market with the EPIC code CINGF. Shares are traded as high as 37p intraday on the year and as low as 2.2p. Currently at a mid price of 7.25p, and that's obviously after the recent fundraising, which I'll talk about in a second. Gives the group a market cap of 11.5 million. So Coinsilium describe themselves as a blockchain, open finance and crypto finance venture builder. I'm just going to go through a few points historically to show how they've arrived at where they are now. They were the first ever blockchain company to list on the markets, the stock market or any exchange in 2015. At that point, they were an investor into and a supporter of blockchain companies. They invested into a company called RSK Labs in 2016 to fund the Rootstock project. Subsequently, IOV Labs, of which we'll hear more of in a second, acquired RSK Labs in 2018. Coinsilium moved its operations to Gibraltar in 2019, and that's enabled it to benefit from the high level of regulatory support and certainty provided by the administration there for blockchain and crypto operators. Throughout the time, of course, throughout its early period, Coinsilium continued to invest in companies, and it holds a number of assets in both Bitcoin and other tokens. As of April this year, those assets were worth $3.12 million. So the company is backed by a very strong asset base. During last year, I mentioned IOV Labs. IOV invested $250,000 at the start of the year, and then a further $330,000 at the end of the year. So the Coinsilium has remained well funded to develop the new business that I'm going to talk about in a second. It also late summer last year announced it was pivoting to focus solely on open finance and crypto finance opportunities, which could see some of its earlier investments offloaded and realized. Some of those have been offloaded, and of course that's reflected in the number that I've just mentioned, 3.12 million. Those are the assets from investments that the company holds. So to bring us up to date, the Coinsilium's wholly owned subsidiary, Nifty Labs, and Singapore-based company Endorse, in which Coinsilium has a 10% shareholding. Endorse, just to outline, they have a global network of developers that run hackathons, which are basically complex IT problems solved by a bunch of very highly talented and qualified developers. So backed by that, Coinsilium announced that they are building and commissioning an NFT marketplace using the RSK technology. So the original technologies that were acquired by IOV Labs in 2018. So this technology this technology overlays and enables smart contracts and NFTs onto the Bitcoin blockchain. At the same time, RSK have also developed a token bridge to run in parallel with this development. It's a development that's cost Coinsilium some $250,000 to build, but importantly, we've spoken about the other NFT platforms out there, such as OpenSea. Importantly, this includes technology that was either overlooked by the early adopters or wasn't included on these larger platforms. So the platform, when it's completed, will very much be the best of breed, and we've seen initial launches of technology that is already improving the offering from some of these existing platforms. And an example of this is the Nifty scanner, which of course records the provenance of assets and NFT data. So if you go onto OpenSea and look at an asset, there'll be a Nifty scanner icon alongside it, where you can actually take a look and just see how strong the provenance for that particular asset is. What Coinsilium and Nifty, what Nifty Labs have created with this platform is effectively a white label offering. Now, in the past, of course, with other technologies such as in share dealing, for example, you'll see a lot of providers provide a white label share dealing platform where it's supplied to a company, and the company then put their branding all over it and launch it to their members. Whereas the actual technology and the software is very much owned and operated by another company. This platform, the NFT marketplace platform, will work in exactly the same way. So it'll sit behind such operations and companies such as record labels, fashions and accessory brands. There was an example quoted the other day where, of course, if somebody buys a very expensive handbag, they might buy it on eBay or they might buy it somewhere, but they don't know its history. With an NFT attached to that handbag, you'll be able to then see the history of that famous Chanel handbag. And of course, if that handbag were, say, walked down a catwalk or used by a star like I don't know, Beyonce or whoever, then, and it was recorded as such, then of course that could greatly add to the value of the asset, and that's a really important consideration. And as I've looked into this, I've just realised, how huge and potentially and nebulous the potential for NFTs are. So that's the platform they're developing, and of course, the important question I think investors want to know is, how will Coinsilium earn from this? Well, Coinsilium will, of course, earn from the initial setup, so they will supply the platform to the fashion brand, who will then brand it the way they want to, and they will pay Coinsilium for their setup. They'll pay license fees, and there could be a percentage of revenue or commission coming in from that. And in addition to that, Coinsilium will also have its own customer-facing proposition too. So the company describes it very much as a picks and shovels business for blockchain, Web3, and the NFT space. And I think this is it's really important to understand this. So the new Coinsilium platform will be superior to the other NFT marketplace platforms out there. It'll be very much the second generation, but including and incorporating a lot of tools such as Nifty Scanner that will identify and record the provenance of those assets. So the company's progressed, and of course, as we said at the start, Mark, the company's just raised 1.15 million to accelerate its growth. Mm-hmm. once this platform is launched and out there, it will be the take up. I think will be phenomenal, and it's the company is at a really exciting juncture. It had the initial blip of interest. A few months ago we saw the share price pop up, but yeah, my view is you ain't seen nothing yet. I think this company is at the start of a very steep growth curve. There are also other agreements, of course, to develop digital assets in other ways. Has an agreement with Red Fox Technologies in Vietnam to develop digital collectible and virtual asset platforms. And one of the first deal in this, of course, we were talking before we came on air, is a deal with the Gibraltar Philatelic Bureau to create a limited edition cryptocurrency postage stamp. So the physical postage stamp is tied to the release of an NFT counterpart. And that's already live. You can still buy the stamps now. Mark, I know you're waiting for yours, and I've got mine in the post, and I think they're going to arrive early next week. So I look forward to reporting on those. And of course, looking at the NFT aspect of the NFT counterpart of the stamp. So I mentioned, of course, Malcolm Pelly at the start. Malcolm is the non-executive chairman and co-founder. Long established in the area. In terms of the tech. Malcolm is very much at the commercial forefront of driving Coinsilium forward. Eddie Travia is the tech, the technology. Is genius too strong a word? I don't think it is. He's very well respected. Mm-hmm. He's got a great track record, launched many ventures in the area, including Seedcoin, and he also has a very strong understanding of private equity involvement in this space. Also on the board, you've got Craig Brown, who's the director CEO of ECR Minerals. Craig is also an accountant, and he is the non-executive on the board. Very much concerned with the finances and the day-to-day financial infrastructure of the group. The company bought a lawyer in recently, Federica Velado, and Federica is an expert in startup financing. So there's a very strong team now in place to drive Coinsilium forward. And I think after the recent blip, shares have now come back down to where they were prior to that. So investors have probably an unparalleled opportunity to get in on the shop floor just before the launch of NFT Marketplace. I think, I really do believe that, this company probably has the best opportunity in this marketplace, because as with the historical gold rushes, the people that really made the money were the people that sold the picks and shovels. And to using that analogy and applying it to the NFT space, that's exactly what Coinsilium are doing, and they are in the right place with very good quality picks and shovels at the right time.
Definitely at the right time. If you liken it to the .com boom, we're on the right side of the .com boom this time with this complete shift in digitization, DeFi, NFTs, and as you say, NFTs are going to have a huge role to play, I think, in the future of how we buy and sell things. I think anything really can be applied across many applications.
Well, I think that example of, say, the Chanel handbag, that you might pick up on eBay, with an NFT counterpart to that bag, you then suddenly find out it was, Beyonce had it on her shoulder when she went to an awards do. So, the price goes up straight away. So it's a way. This would be a very good way, I think. With the ability to record the provenance of that asset, it's a very good way of. It provides new investment opportunities, I think, for investors, because maybe something comes to market and somebody finds out through the NFT that it has a particular unique place in history, and of course buys that, and then that becomes public knowledge, and the cost of the asset goes up.
Yeah, or of course even just people who can't normally sell their work, i.e. digital artists, musicians, that kind of thing. Yep. They can sell through the NFT and get,
of course,
true value and provenance from their work.
Well, of course, I mean, Beeple's art, of course, the digital artist. I mean, that's that sold for phenomenal amounts of money. $66 million, I think, was the latest piece, and we've spoken before about the Kings of Leon. Of course, their album was released as an NFT. So it's a huge burgeoning space, and we're right at the start. And Coinsilium are at the coalface with their picks and shovels.
They are, and not just in the space, but as you say, with the tools as well to do it, and the stamp is their kind of dipping their toe in the water kind of thing, and for something that's very real, and your stamps are on their way. Hopefully mine are too, and we can start delving down that rabbit hole of buying some NFTs as well, and maybe even trading them online. But I think it's worth it's worth everyone looking at it. It's definitely a space worth looking at and just starting to go down that rabbit hole and just explore it a little bit, I think.
Well, I think also a lot of the concerns around NFTs that have been expressed, and certainly, people have come to me when we've spoken about this space before and said, well, how do you record the provenance? How do I know? How do I get hold of it? How can I prove it's mine? All of these issues, I think, are very valid issues, and the early adopters, the first to market, the platforms that were first to market, didn't really bother to address that. What Coinsilium are launching will address all of those issues and more besides. So it will then, by definition, I think, crystallize what people believe is value and ownership in this space across a multitude of assets. So the potential is absolutely huge. I mean, we talk about the companies, starting out with a huge potential asset, but this has the potential to be absolutely global and touch everyone's lives in some way. So it's very exciting. Very exciting indeed.
Great. Well, thank you very much again, Alan, for your time there on Power Metals and Cointillium. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you for listening to this Stockbox interview. For more information, interviews and videos, visit our website at stockboxmedia.com or give us a follow on Twitter by searching @StockboxMedia.